Guitar Heroes, Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage here. Friends, let me ask you, do you want to understand how to read musical notation for the guitar? Do you want to learn how to play guitar by reading just like you would a book? Or do you have a musical passage that you just need to decipher and you just need some quick tips here to get to understand that? Or are you new to this journey and you really just want a really super easy way, someone to show you the exact way to do it that's going to be super easy and really get you a good foundation in reading music? Well, friends, if you answered yes to any of those, you're in the right place, because today I'm going to be showing you basic music reading for the guitar. In fact, I'll be showing you musical notation here in this video in 3 easy steps. You want to do it? Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to break this down in 3 easy steps. The first one's going to be spaces and lines, notes, ledger lines, and a little bit of musical notation. So basically, the only thing we're going to be doing here is talking about actually reading the notes, not the duration of the notes or anything like that. That's going to be in the part 2. The duration of notes, rests, that sort of thing. So that's our part 2. And part 3 is miscellaneous, okay? Miscellaneous could be a lot bigger, but I'm just going to be telling you the things that you need to know today, okay? Because there's lots of little notations that we're not going to be covering today, because I really want to use Pareto's rule here, which is 80% of the stuff that you need to know can be summarized in about 20% of the knowledge. If you know those 20% of the right things, you'll be able to do 80% of the job. my friends. Eric Andreas, your Guitar Sage here, friends. Let's talk about it. What is the date here today? I don't know. It's it's the guitar show, and it's April the 17th. So welcome, friends. Today what we're going to be talking about is why a one-year player can be better than a 40-year guitar player. How the heck can that be? And then I'm going to be taking your questions in real time today on Facebook and YouTube, Instagram in the house. But head over to Facebook and YouTube if you want your questions answered, Instagram, because I will not be able to see the screen. So, yeah, this title seems a little crazy, I know. But, so I've taught lots of students, and I've found that you can kind of advance the hands of time, if you will, by focus and by practice. I'm sure that there are players watching this right now who've been playing for longer than 40 years, and they're like, well, that's me, Eric. And I know this because I've talked to so many players. I made a post the other day, right? Which player are you? It's three different types of players. There's that player who's just starting, and they haven't hit those roadblocks yet. They haven't come against those frustrations as much as those who have gone further. And then you have those players who've been playing for a long time, 30, 40, 50 years. And they don't seem to get past where they first were in the beginning. Maybe the first year, first 5 years or so, and they never really moved beyond that. Well, how can that be, Eric? I'll tell you in a minute. And then there's that third player who's been playing for a long time, but they keep getting better. Now, how can that be? Well, as I discussed in that video, I brush my teeth with my right hand. Been doing it since I was a little kid. And, gosh, I'm going on 50 years now brushing my teeth, close to it, something like that. And I don't seem to be getting any better at it. Been walking for just as long, been talking for just as long. Not walking any different, and I'm not talking any different. What's your point, Eric? My point is, when we do the same thing all the time, you're going to just get good at that one particular thing, but if you're not pushing yourself beyond something that you're used to, well, then you're just going to be that good, right? That's why we walk the same as we did when we were young. We talk the same way, chew our food the same way, we brush our teeth the same way, because we get into these rituals. And sometimes those rituals can be good, but in the case of guitar or other things that we want to excel at, if we're doing the same thing all the time, then we're only going to get so good. And we can practice that for thousands and thousands of years, and nothing's going to change, okay? It's just like if you were to heat something up, you have 210 degrees boiling water. Well, if it sat there for 1,000 years, it's not going to get any hotter than 210 degrees. It's just 210 degrees. You'd have to turn the flame up. So, similarly, our brains work the same way. That's why you can have a player who's super into playing. They're excited. They're voracious about their learning. And they can trump somebody who's been playing for 40 years. Now, it doesn't always work that way. There's lots of one-year players that aren't that good, but the ones that are really pushing the envelope, they're going to be better than some of those players who've been playing for 40 years that just aren't digging in the dirt like that, okay? So that's just a little reminder to you guys. I think if I hit you guys enough with this stuff, you're finally going to get it, right? I know many of you are getting this, and then others, you may have to hear it a few times. I know I do. I have to constantly remind myself of this stuff. You don't just memorize it. Sometimes you have to be reminded about it because you get into slumps. Okay? Good. All right, so let's do this. Let's get to some questions. We're going to start on Facebook today, Facebook and YouTube. We'll be getting to your questions. And then also, as per usual, we are giving away a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System /365. You can find that link right there. And the only thing you have to do in order to enter that contest, it's just, you know what it is you have got to be following me on Instagram. You have to leave a comment and you have to like it. That's it. And we will pick one winner as we do on Instagram stories. Cool? All right. Okay, so let's get to some questions. This is obviously open to everybody, but we've got lots of UGS folks in here. I always find that out as we're going through. The questions are typically more advanced, but be it a baby beginner question or an advanced question, you're welcome to ask away. I will be pointing you to other videos because sometimes you're asking a question that's going to require a much longer answer, and for me to sufficiently answer it, I'm going to need to point you to a video. I could give you just a brief overview, but to save time and what have you, we need to be able to do that, okay? Cool. Yes, you got to get a looper, Ben. Indeed. They're so much fun. Eric, I think you should offer to install a sustainer in your build an added charge. Might be fairly useful. Yeah, if you don't know what Roddy's talking about there, a sustainer is a type of pickup that basically sustains the strings. I was going to use this today. I didn't end up doing it, but this is called an EBow. It's a little device, E-B-O-W, like electronic bow. That's what it stands for. And this, let's see. Well, now, there we go. So, let's say I got this little fun thing going here, right? So that's called an EBow. I know it's kind of fun, right? And what this thing does is it electronically vibrates the string through magnets. These are about 90 bucks. They're super fun. And a sustainer pickup does something similar in that it just vibrates the strings. It doesn't do it to quite the extent of that, but when you hit a chord, those notes can literally ring out indefinitely as long as your battery is going to survive. And they're super cool. I've never had one in a guitar. I think it would be a lot of fun. But Roddy, with that being said, there's about 700 other things that I could put as an upcharge to a guitar that I probably won't, just because that would get very, very complicated. You give folks too many choices and then they just don't know what to pick anymore. What is the significance of the pentatonic? Larry's asking, what is the significance of the pentatonic forms 3 and 4 for rock solos? Is it because the octaves, 12th fret splits right down the middle of those two forms? Larry, there's no more significance in the pentatonic forms 3 and 4 as there is 1 and 2, or as there is in the color blue or the color green. They just are. They just exist. There's not like a significance in them. If you think about taking a scale, this will help you understand this a little bit. If you take a scale, say the major scale, and you play it like this. Take that major scale, right? Well, if we play it from 1 to 1, that's what it sounds like. If we play it from 2 to 2, it sounds like that. If we play it 3 to 3, it sounds like that. And so you can see that each time I'm shifting, because I'm starting this on the first, this on the second, this on the third, and fourth, and fifth, and sixth, and going up further. So really, Larry, the only thing that we're doing, same thing with the pentatonic scales, we're just starting it on another note. And because of that, if we're starting it on another note and we want to play it across the fretboard, that's how we do it. So there's no significance in the pentatonic forms. They just are. They just exist because there's different ways that you can play notes. Okay, so I could play the major scale like this, our standard form, or I could do 3 notes per string, or I could play across 1 string. Many different ways that we can do that. So those notes just fall onto the fretboard, and then we get to decide what is the significance of them. We get to decide that. Okay. Good. Okay, Eric, where can I pick up an amplifier that has a volume that goes to 11? Yes. Because 11 is better than 10. By the way, my new Robert Cray Strat is awesome with the 10-watt sawtooth amp. My duplex neighbors are going to love me, right? Yes. So, friends, Chuck Clockcow here on Facebook is the one who won the Robert Cray Strat. Pretty cool. Beautiful. I'm glad that you like that, Chuck. Yeah. Rock out, socks out. There we go. Jude's asking, Eric, back to my question from yesterday. I know that the major scale has the same notes as the minor scale of the sixth note of the major scale. When do you consider yourself as playing the minor scale, and how would that impact the note arrangement? Jude's asking. Okay, so Jude, what I was playing here is in the key of E minor. That whole little bit in the beginning there, that's in the key of E minor. I could play G major over it, or I could play E minor. Since they have the same exact set of notes, it doesn't really matter. It's the same set of notes. It's just maybe in my mind I'm thinking about a different pattern, but it's really the same set of notes. Think about it this way. If I play the notes C, D, E, F, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. No sharps or flats. Then I play the A minor scale, which is the relative minor scale to C major. They have the same set of notes. So if I play A to A, I have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. No sharps and flats. So they share the same exact sets of notes. If we lay them over each other, we wouldn't have any new notes. It would still just be 7 notes. So Jude, what's happening when we're playing in a minor scale? You said, when do you consider yourself as playing the minor scale? Well, I consider playing the minor scale when I start on the 6 and I end on the 6. So the way that I did it just now, and it has that sound. It has that minor sound, as opposed to if I played from C to C, it has that major sound. So if you're playing from a 6 to a 6, then that's what I would consider the minor scale, and I believe most people would consider that the minor scale. As far as playing in a minor key, like your song or whatever, that's going to have to do, you could say it's subjective, but if you were to run that past musicians who knew what we're talking about here, you're going to find that all of them are going to say, oh no, this is in the key, this is in a minor key, or this is in a major key. It's very obvious. Every now and then you might have someone that says something differently, but there's not like some deep reason why that is. It's just that their ear bends that way a little bit more. So for instance, if I start on a C, C, A minor, F, G. If I play that, that's in the key of C. It has an A minor in it, but it just doesn't lend itself to minor sound, But if I played something like that's A minor, G major, F, G. So I'm starting the phrase on an A minor, and it just lends itself to that, to more of an A minor. So I always say, what's the first chord of the song? What's the last chord of the song? And usually those will tell you what key you're in. It's like starting off the scene of a movie. If the movie starts off with a bank heist, people are shooting people and there's kidnappings and everything else, you're probably not watching a comedy. You could be, but you're probably not watching a comedy. If it starts off with a hysterical scene, then you're probably watching a comedy because it's setting the scene like right away. And oftentimes that's what we get attenuated to is the introduction. When someone introduces us to somebody new, if they're an a-hole, right, you're going to be like, this guy's an a-hole. If he's super cool starting off, you're going to have this immediate opinion. And music's the same way. It's like, what's the first chord? What's the first sounds that you're hearing there? That's going to attenuate your ear to what it is that the song is most likely going to be. Cool? All right. Jumping over to YouTube to get some questions. And thank you for those folks that donated yesterday to the lunch fund. The boys and I appreciate that so much. If you want to do that again today, if you're on Facebook, you can head over to YouTube. Right next to the smiley face, you'll see a little money sign there, and that will go to the boys' lunch fund. So thank you. All right, so let's get to some questions on YouTube. I think I'm going to be upset. I'm one of the 40-plus year guitar players. What have I been doing wrong for all these years? Romans, here's the deal. You are not alone. I watched that video. Watch that video on YouTube. It's titled, let me think, something like, there are 3 types of players, which one of you? 3 types of guitar players, which one are you? I believe that's the title. Nonetheless, not only watch that video, but then look at the comments underneath it, and you're going to find that most everybody who's in that category, if they're not a new player, they've been playing for a long time, and they say, that's me, Eric, how did you know? I know this because I've been around a lot of guitar players, and I've taught for a long time, and so you start racking the numbers up in your head, and you start realizing, okay, a lot of people are running into these issues. That's why I teach the way that I teach, is because I'm trying to pull people out of that place and show them a new path. And really, the way to do that is to just show it, is just to take a new path. You know, constantly interrupting the way that you always do things. You can literally practice this in life by driving home a different way, by eating something different, by talking to somebody different, by listening to a new band. Do some new stuff. Shake it up, shake it up, shake it up, shake it up all the time. And if you're doing this in your own playing, if you're shaking up your own playing, then you can delve into areas that you're not good at, and then you're going to get better. So Romans, what have you been doing wrong all these years? If you want to consider that you're doing something wrong, it's that you're doing the same thing all the time. But that may not necessarily be wrong. To the way you're phrasing it right now, it sounds like you would like to be better. So for most of us, yeah, we're going to look at this, we're going to paint it as we're doing something wrong. When in fact, what we're doing is we're doing the same thing over and over and over again all the time. Now, when we're brushing our teeth or we're walking or we're talking, yeah, those don't have to be real diverse per se. It would be nice, we might make things less ritualistic if we walk a different way, or if we practice a new workout routine or drive a new way to work or something like that. But when it comes to playing guitar, the only way you can get outside of your comfort zone, we talked about it yesterday, is to get outside of your comfort zone. So you go to do something on the guitar that you've always done, don't do that. Leave a space, leave a hole. Because if you leave a hole, if you leave that space, then you're going to have to fill it up with something. And if you fill it up with the same thing you've always been filling it up with, well, there you go. Now you're making it feel like as if you're doing something, and you're really not. You're playing the same thing over and over and over again, right? So don't do that if you want to get better. So Romans, what do you need to do? Do something different than what you're doing today. I don't know what it is that you like. I don't know the genre. I don't know the guitar players that you like, but that's the route that's the direction you want to be looking in, okay? All right, good. Titus is saying clickbait title? No, absolutely not. It is not a clickbait title, Titus or Joe. How long have you been playing? That's what I would ask. How long have you been playing, Titus? Or Joe, how long have you been playing? And if you've been playing for more than a year, if you've been playing for more than 5 years, are the first year that you played, are you 5 times as good as that today? Because there is a way to do that. There really is. But it's definitely not going to come by just picking up the guitar and playing the same old thing all the time. And definitely not clickbait, because I know tons of guitar players that have only been playing for a year that'll play better than someone who's been playing for 40 years. They're all over Nashville. They get up and they play their songs, and they're doing their thing. They're excited about life. They're excited about music. If you lose that excitement about music, I've done it a bunch of times in my life. If you do that, you've got to find your way back. Otherwise, you're going to stay right where you're at, you know? Okay. All right, good. Man, we got a lot of folks from Germany. Somebody from Germany here. Nice, beautiful. Guten Tag. Oh, thank you. Lots of super kind words. Nice, thank you. Yeah, if you don't have, was that Pink Floyd? Was it Pink Floyd that did Money? Yes, it was Pink Floyd. Deliberate practice, right. Somebody's saying not just practice, but deliberate practice. If I can tell you anything about practice, it's to have a goal, have a nugget, have a song, a solo, or some sort of thing that you can aim for. Because this is what it does, is it takes your mind off of time, off of am I getting better, if I practiced enough, all of these things that run through our mind that keep us from getting better. Have I booked enough time? People ask me all the time, how much is enough practice? If you're asking that question, you're already starting off in the wrong place. I'm not shredding on you. I guess what I'm saying is we've got to change your thought process. If you're saying how long do I need to practice, you're not having fun. Because if you're having fun on the guitar, you're not looking at the clock. You're just in the moment, you're practicing, you're having fun, and you're not practicing, you're just playing, right? That's what I would rather hear you think or say, is to play guitar, less about practice. Practicing is good, deliberate practice is good, but I guess what I'm saying is you want it to be play, you want it to be fun. Now, sometimes to get to that next level, you're going to have to challenge yourself. And because you're challenging yourself, because you're not getting to where you want to get to in the amount of time that you want to get to, that sort of thing, it is going to be a little bit frustrating. Or I should say challenging, right? Just like a workout would be, or climbing a mountain or something like that. Obviously, there's rewards there, but that deliberate practice and pushing through those times when you don't want to practice and saying, I know I can do this, it's just a matter of repetition, that is going to get you to those next levels. Okay, I've been playing for 40 plus years. I wish I had the skills I have now back on my first few years of playing. I would have been a rock god in my high school and not an obscure nerd. Yes, and so it sounds like Access has been continuing to sharpen the blade. Very important. People think that scales are stupid, but they are a must, Jared is saying. Kind of, Jared. I know folks that don't know scales, or at least they say they don't know scales, meaning if you said, hey, what's this scale, what's that scale, can you play it for me, they wouldn't be able to. But they're really good at being able to negotiate with the neck and know what note works over what chord and that sort of thing. They're just good at improvisation. And so, yes, they're using scales when they're doing this, but they're also not using scales. They're just using notes. And notes are not scales. Remember that. So I don't think that people think that scales are stupid. What I think a lot of times people are saying, what you're probably hearing, Jared, is that the over repetitive playing of scales is really not going to do a whole hell of a lot for you. Just like brushing your teeth the same way for many, many, many years is not going to get you better at brushing your teeth. You're going to get to a certain skill level and then that's it, because you're not doing anything further. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. Is anybody out there doing some crazy, do they have some crazy tricks that they're doing when they're brushing their teeth, or are they just brushing their friggin' teeth? It's the same thing all the time, right? So same thing with scales. And I am speaking from experience because I used to run my scales for hours a day. And it's fine. It gets you attenuated to your fretboard. It gets you used to your scales, where they're at on the fretboard, that sort of thing. But it doesn't, that's all it does, okay? It's not going to make you some great player. You're going to have to incorporate more than just scales. If it were that easy, then people would just run their scales all day and they'd be great players. But alas, that doesn't exist. I've never in my life met someone who just ran their scales and they're a great player. I've met tons of people who who didn't practice scales much at all and were fantastic players. So that's like saying, you know, if you want to be a carpenter, you got to know how to hammer. It's like, well, yeah, you got to know how to hammer, but there's like 17 million other things that you also got to know. So I know how to hammer, but I wouldn't call myself a carpenter. I know how to drive a nail into something. So I guess that's what, when folks are talking about scales, that's what they mean, is that it's one part of the puzzle. Cool? Yeah, it's how the scales are used, David's saying. Yep. And subskip. Scales are a tool, but people want to hear songs, not scales. Exactly. Kajito, yes. I do mean that you need to practice, but remember, not just practice, deliberate practice. So have a thing that you're going after. I find that a scale, if you don't know a scale, learn a scale. That's a great thing so that you can walk away with it and you've got a thing when you're done. Or learning a solo. You're going to learn so much from that solo. Patterns, bends, hammer-ons, all these different techniques, how that specific guitar player looks at the neck, how they interpret phrasing. There's so many different things that you're going to be deriving from learning a song or learning a solo as opposed to just sitting there noodling, you know. And there's nothing wrong with noodling. I think that's part of it, but don't get so wrapped up in any one particular thing. I guess that's what I'm saying. Do I need to learn scales? Is it necessary? CEO, learn the major scale and learn the pentatonic scale. Learn how to, just count through the scale, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and then using the free course that I give you, YourGuitarSage.com/30, link for that's in the description of the video, then use the bits that I include there in regards to theory along with that scale, and it's truly going to open up your understanding of music and how it works. The pentatonic scale, know how to use that over chord progressions. Learn how to noodle, okay? You can find videos for just about all this stuff that I'm talking about right now, obviously inside UGS, but some stuff you can find on YouTube as well. Search Your Guitar Sage Noodle or Your Guitar Sage Pentatonic Scale or Your Guitar Sage Blues, all those. Hecky Guns. Eric, I've been playing for 10 years, but a while back I hit a wall and almost quit. My guitar sat lonely for 3 years until I found you. Can't wait to get into UGS. I love that, Hecky Guns. And this is a tale. Luckily for Hecky Guns, he almost quit, but then he decided to come back. I cannot tell you how many times I have said, well, I would say less than a handful of times, but probably two or three times I've actually put the guitar down and said, I'm just kind of done. And then there's been other times where I was just frustrated with it. I'm currently in a mode where with the guitar, I'm frustrated because I'm not moving forward. I know what it is that I need to do, but I need to carve out the time specifically for doing that. Making videos and those sorts of things, I need to cut out the time specifically for growing my mind on the guitar. I know where the notes are. I know how to play the scales. I know the chords, that sort of thing. But there's something else. There's another area that I need to uncover, another stone that I need to look under. But here, this whole bit here, so he's playing for 10 years and then almost quit. So why is that? This is really important. This is with a lot of things in life, is that when you're starting something new, you're very excited about it. And so you have all this motivation, all this desire, and what have you. But in order to keep that up, you're going to have to change things. You're going to have to do things different, and you have to bring up the bar every single time. Because if not, you're going to get used to where you're at, you're going to arrive there, and then you're like, well, now what else? Well, there's other stuff. You're just going to have to dig in the dirt, find it. Here's the deal. If you're like, well, what else would I do, Eric? Well, let me ask you this question. Is there any guitar player anywhere in the world that's better than you? Of course there is. There you go. There's your inspiration. Now, you may go, but I don't really desire to get better than that. Okay, well, then you don't really want it that bad, and that's okay, right? That's okay. But just understand that if you want to get better, you're going to have to light a fire underneath yourself by having some sort of song or some other sort of guitar player that you're focusing on, that you can say, hey, I want to get that good. If you're like, well, I don't want to sound like anybody else, I just want to get better by myself. Okay, good luck. That's going to be difficult to do if you're not looking at anybody else's songs or whatever. If you're just sitting in a room and you're trying to create some amazing piece, it's not to say you can't do it, but it's a lonely, lonely road, okay? It's like giving birth. It's very lonely. And you're going to have to really, really find that self-motivation to do that sort of thing. But when you listen to Eruption or you listen to some really cool song, Van Halen, Jimi Hendrix, whoever, and it inspires you, you can easily go, okay, I'm going to find the tabs, I'm going to learn this song, and now it's really inspiring because you're playing something like that pro did. Okay? Are most songs at 120 beats per minute? No, there's no specific beats per minute. Now, Climber, if you're inside of 365, and that's why you're asking that, because the playing examples, 365-ish of them, they're 120 beats per minute, is because that's just default for the software that I was working with. We can put it at anything. So if I had put it at 60, that would have been half the speed. Some folks would have said that's too slow. If I put it on 120, some folks might think that's too fast. Other folks might think that's too slow. It just depends on each exercise. So literally, that is just default for the program. You can set it to whatever you're comfortable with. Okay. You're not. There's not a specific BPM, like there's not a specific speed that people run at. Everybody's different, right? Even walking, everybody's different. All right. Are expression pedals and wah pedals the same thing, or are there differences? Kajito is saying. So an expression pedal, it just depends. An expression pedal is typically a pedal that goes into your gear. Okay. So for instance, let's go to my pedal cam here. Oh, Subskip, thank you so much for the donation, my friend. Virtual hug. If anyone is on the fence and still looking for courses, find a way to get into the UGS, get a loan, try to win, vets free. Eric, no BS is going to get you to the next level. Craig, thank you so much, Craig. Yeah. All right. So let's look at this pedal cam here, and so I've got a few different pedals. This guy here is, you may not hear a difference here. Let's see. You guys won't hear much of a difference there. This is my volume just inside the studio. So it may sound a little bit louder to you guys as I get to the top there, otherwise you're not going to hear it. This is my volume pedal. Okay, and this one, I can change. I can change this to be volume, pitch, anything else. So expression pedals are typically pedals which you would plug into another device like this. This is my Kemper pedal setup. And what that's going to allow you to do is attenuate different parameters for different effects. If you should want that, that's what those do. And you have to program them typically, okay? Some of them are wahs, some of them are other. Let's see, this guy here. So this is a wah, and it really depends on what it is that you're programming these to. So you can purchase a wah pedal from, a store. You can have a wah, and you plug it in, that's all it is. It's a wah. There's some that are volume and wah. There are volume pedals that are just volume. There are expression pedals that are expression that typically plug into something else like these, and then you program them later. Does that make sense? So expression pedals and wahs are similar in that they attenuate, but they're different in what they do usually. All right. I just bought a Firefly guitar 4 days ago and I plan to learn. What should I start with first? Elton, you're in the right place, friend. There's a link in the description of the video, YourGuitarSage.com/30. Start there. The reason I tell you to start there, Elton, is because Well, number one, it's free, and it's step by step. I promise you. You go through this, you're gonna get what you need in regards to understanding guitar in a way that's comprehensive, in a way that's gonna build a solid foundation. A lot of folks, they make the mistake of going to YouTube and just randomly picking videos, hoping that the guy or gal that's going to teach them, number one, is telling them what they need to know that specific day, and also that they know what they're talking about. Okay? So, very important, even if you find someone who really knows what they're talking about, you find the best teacher there is on YouTube, and you're listening to them. If you're not learning in order, okay, you're gonna run into some troubles. Chances are, especially in the beginning, because you may not understand that you're watching something out of order, and you're just like, you're watching the person play something, and then you go to do it, and you're like, well, God, I can't do that. Why is he able to do that? Well, probably because they've been playing longer than you, and they've learned some things in order, or they've navigated those beginner days to such a way that now they understand that sometimes you can't learn things out of order. In the beginning, a lot of people don't know this, and they just wonder why they can't play guitar, and they get very frustrated, you know. What advice can you give a newbie wanting to learn to play? Asked Saunders. Saunders, wanting to learn to play. So don't want anymore, just learn to play. You've got a free course available for you. Get a guitar, get in that course. That's my advice for you. Anything else is just psychobabble. There's one thing to do. Get a guitar, two things to do. Watch the videos and practice, okay? That's what you want to do, my friend. Should I learn electric licks on acoustic? Because it doesn't sound right. How much ever you practice. Thanks in advance. Pranav, unless you have some sort of way to break the space-time continuum, how do you know that how much ever you practice? You sound like you've been practicing for thousands of years, and it's just not getting any better. I'm playing with you. Of course, understand that if you practice more, it will get better. It's just impatience kicks in, and it feels like we've been practicing forever, or too much, or enough, and then it doesn't equate in the time span that we want it to. That being said, should you learn electric licks on acoustic? Yeah, it's going to be more difficult because the strings are higher, they're typically thicker, that sort of thing. And it's really important that you understand that basically what you're doing is you've got a 4x4 and you're on a race car track and you're trying to drive it like a race car. Well, it's not going to perform like a race car. Conversely, if you took a Porsche and took it out to a mud bog, you're probably not going to do too well. It could be a $200,000 Porsche. It's not going to perform well because it's not built for that. The acoustic's built for acoustic stuff. Electric's built for electric stuff. So it's definitely going to be different. Another donation to the lunch fund. That's good. Thank you so much, my friend. Eric, love you, man. UGS has helped me more than you will ever know. Yay, Jasco. I love that, my friend. Thank you so much. And you, folks, you can get in there for free. Become a member for free. The first 30 lessons I'm literally giving you. So do it. Okay? Okay. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Sound Music, for posting that link. I love it. Yes. Yep. Put your guitar in a case or put it on a stand. Indeed. Okay. Yeah, I know it sounds repetitive when I say, look, man, practice. I know that sounds repetitive, but we gotta say it because it's just true. Okay? All right. Why do we need to bend the string if we could just slide to a tone or a semitone? They sound the same, right? CEO, you tell me, does this sound the same? Or they sound different. So you don't need to bend. It's an expression. You're expressing yourself. So it's yet another way to express yourself. So you don't have to do it, but it's there for you if you want to express yourself. When it comes to blues, bending is super fun. It just sounds good, feels good. So much more expression when you can bend a note, because you can go. We can only slide so slow. Right? That gets really boring. So, yeah, bending is where it's at. It sounds really cool. Hey, what were you playing along in the intro of the video? So, Titus, I was just making something up there. That consisted of an E minor chord. I went to E minor, C major, E minor, D major, E minor, C major, D major, B7. It's just a little fun thing that I was making up there. And just a chord progression that I put into the looper, and then was just kind of adding some bits and pieces on top of it. Okay, good. Eric, I've been improvising with the pentatonic minor and major in all positions. What can I do now? I feel like I'm getting stuck. Hecky guns, watch the video Minimalistic Blues on YouTube. Search YourGuitarSage Minimalistic Blues. Don't do anything else. Watch that video and do what it says. All right. Yeah. Playing for 5 years, but I don't know how to solo, how to improvise, or music theory is not my better side. So how long it takes and what should I do to learn soloing? James, you got to start the process. You got to get the ball rolling. People go, I want to be an adult. How do I become an adult? Well, you got to start by being a kid first. You got to start somewhere. So you got to start, I've got the free course for you if you want to learn music theory, if you want to learn how to play and all the bits and pieces to build your foundation. So very important to build a solid foundation. If you don't do that, then you're just building whatever you're building on top of a bad foundation. So that's there for you. The link for that's in the description of the video. And then watch videos from me where I'm teaching you how to phrase. Watch Minimalistic Blues. Watch call and response videos from me. All of those. Hit the unstoppable hard. That's what Max is saying. Yes, it is true. Yeah, if you want more videos, I've got them for you, all step by step. But start there. That will get you where you want to get to. It'll get you started, I should say, okay? Okay, cool. Hey, Sage, how much should I know on the acoustic guitar? This is Marius from YouTube saying this. How much should I know on acoustic to switch to an electric? Or could one start on an electric? You definitely can start on the electric. They're the same instrument in that theoretically they're the same. You're still picking and fretting and chording the same way. So they're really the same instrument. Basically, it's kind of like saying, a sedan or a Porsche, they're both going to perform a little bit differently, but they have wheels and they have a steering wheel and doors and engines and stuff like that. So essentially, they're similar. Don't fear playing electric guitar. Just pick it up and go. The only way you're going to learn is to pick it up and go, Okay. Oh, love this. Yeah, get out of your comfort zone. Got out of mine last night and finally played Floyd's Wish You Were Here, my first Floyd song and reason to pick up the guitar. Eric's motivation works. Beautiful. Thank you, Christopher. And love that song. Exactly. If you have a song that you just absolutely love, then, that's what you want to do. You want to go after that song because that's going to motivate you, Yeah, I answered that one yesterday, Don. Yes, I've seen Greg Koch play on YouTube, and he's absolutely amazing. Love that guy. Is it Koch or Koch? I bet you he'd want me to pronounce it right. That's all I'm saying. And if it's not Koch, then Greg, I'm sorry. I'm just calling it like I see it, all right? I don't know. Is it Koch? Sometimes you can be over careful, and then it just looks even worse. So then you can over talk about something and it looks even more worse. All right, so Micah's saying here, if I just place my fingers on the strings and strum, it rings out nice. How can I find the chord that I'm playing, such as XX2320, which is perhaps a sus? 2-3, let's look at this. 2, 2, 3, 2, oh. You could consider that, well, that's a diminished chord you're playing there. But how do you figure that out, Micah? There's not a calculator per se that you could go and do that with. I mean, yes, there are apps that you could do that with and stuff, but don't do that, man. That's the lame way to do it, and it's going to take you forever, and you're never going to really learn to play the guitar. It's kind of like learning to read. If you just memorize, if you're like, how do I learn to read? Where do I find the thing to memorize the words? Is that how you're going to learn to read? You're going to memorize every word there is in the world? No, you don't want to do that. You just learn the method for reading, right? Same thing with counting. I've never counted to 1 billion, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that I can, right? Well, Eric, that's a goofy example. No, it's not. It's the exact example. I'm using a methodology of getting from here to there, from 1 to 1 billion. I'm using a methodology. We're using 1 through 9, and we got decimals, right? So when you learn music, which is super duper easy, how about this? There's only 7 notes in the scale. So when you hear your favorite guitar player just ripping as fast as they can, chords and scales and everything else, chances are they're only playing 7 notes. At the very maximum, if they're playing every single note on the fretboard, they're only playing 12 notes. They repeat, okay? So the very maximum, that's what they would be playing, but I promise you they're not playing all 12 notes, okay? Okay, so all that to say, Micah, you got to learn how to play the instruments. Start with the free course I'm giving you. I promise you, if you can get through that, then you're going to have a great foundation. You're going to be able to move forward. If you can't get through that, then guitar is not your thing. You probably need to play the radio or something like that, because guitar takes a little bit of dedication, takes a little bit of commitment. It doesn't take a terrible amount of dedication, but you got to do something, you know? Is it better to learn a scale in one key than move on to other keys? Karen, yeah, and just learning one, yeah, you don't want to be halfway learning a scale in one key and then halfway learning it in another key. Just learn it in one key. And then Karen, you can just move it up the fretboard like that. Make sense? Cool. All right. Yesterday, Larry's saying, yesterday I asked about a neck through body pros and cons. I meant neck through bridge. Neck through bridge, where the neck's wood ends at the bottom strap button. Does that type offer more sustain for Floyd Rose locking trems? Larry, yeah, maybe a little bit, but nothing that you're going to notice. Nothing that chances are anybody's going to notice. Scales serve as good dexterity exercises, correct? Yeah, they sure do, Bruce. And I have nothing against scales per se. But if you're using them all the time and that's what you're doing, instead of being out on stage and playing songs, well, you're not going to get where you're trying to get to. Okay? That's just, you're spending too much time in practice land and you're not playing music. You got to be playing music, you know? I'm having trouble with alternate picking. Would a softer pick help using a medium now? Tal, probably not. Softer pick is great when you're strumming, but when you're playing individual notes, it's good to have a thicker, somewhat thicker, like say like medium on up, thicker pick, because it's going to be more consistent. You're going to be able to count on where it's going to bend or not bend more consistently, but a softer pick is going to move more underneath your fingers. It's not going to be as consistent. So Tal, would a softer pick help? No, practice would help. A medium would be fine. I would say a medium, but you know, practice is what helps. Honestly, it's the only thing that helps. All right, good. Gary, thank you so much for posting the link there. Beautiful. All right. Paul's saying, is the complete guitar system, beginner to advanced on Udemy, the same as the 30 beginner lesson course? Paul's saying. Paul, the material, so the complete guitar system that's on Udemy is more comprehensive. There's a lot more videos, hundreds of videos in that course, right? This is the first 30 lessons that are inside of the Unstoppable Guitar System, and similar to what's in Udemy. I don't remember the specific videos that are in there, the first 30 videos, but it's going to be real specific. It's going to be very, very close. Got another donation here. Thank you so much. What is it? Thank you so much, Brent Boardman. So you're saying, what is the guitar to my left? This one right here is a Gretsch 6120. And let's do this. Let's turn this down. This thing may or may not be in tune. Got so many damn guitars that there. Some of them are in tune, some of them are not. This just a really cool old school. This is a 1959, and Brian Setzer. It's his favorite guitar, and it's just a good old-fashioned rockabilly guitar, and I just love the tone of them. Just has a beautiful tone to it. All right. Thank you so much, Brent. I appreciate that. Okay, I can play open chords and E-shaped bar chords. I'm lost. What should I do next? I can play open chords and E bar chords. I'm lost. What should I do next? Vivek, if you're talking about learning chords, I'd say learn your other bar chord shapes. I have a 2-part series on YouTube. If you're not in the Unstoppable Guitar System, you know, you'll hear me mention YouTube, you'll hear me mention UGS a lot. It's because UGS, I may have one video on YouTube, whereas I have a whole course inside of UGS. Does that make sense? So if it's on bar chords, I would have a whole course on it, whereas I may have a video or two on YouTube. Obviously, the better stuff is inside of the guitar system. But if you're not in there, no plans on going in there, then I can tell you some stuff to get on YouTube as well that will be helpful. And one of those is my bar chords videos. Just search YourGuitarSage bar chords. And in that one, or it's a 2-part video, I show you basically how to increase your chord vocabulary by, I think it's 300 chords, by just showing you some simple little tweaks to make on a chord or two, times 12 for each of the 12 keys. You're going to get to your 300 chords very quickly. So yeah, that's what to do, my friend. Okay. Yeah, learn the cage system. That's a great one. There's so many different bits, but yeah, the cage system is great. Got a question. All I have is an acoustic guitar. I love playing and learning guitar, but my real love and passion is electric guitar. Should I keep learning on acoustic? Indeed. Keep learning on acoustic. Coke. Cook. Okay, there you go. All right, well, I just demolished his name, didn't I? All right, Coke or Cook. Cook, okay. Okay, sure. I'm trying to find a balance between learning songs that motivate me and practicing theory, techniques, scales, etc. Do you have any advice on how to balance this to learn as efficiently as possible? Terry, great question. I prefer to learn technique and theory, those sorts of bits, as they relate to a song. So I don't want to learn a piece of music theory that, number one, doesn't excite me or that I'm not going to be able to apply. But if I'm practicing a song and I'm learning some new chords or some new techniques or some new theory or something like that, well, I have something directly to relate it to, right? So it's going to make sense to me. That's how I like to do it. For instance, if I wanted to learn some rockabilly, well, I would practice the new techniques through some sort of song. So this way I'm getting the song down, but I'm learning these new techniques at the same time. And, you know, why practice a technique if you don't have something to relate it to, if you don't have a song that you can play to right away or some way that you can apply it. So, Terry, the most efficient way, in my opinion, and this is after years of practicing all different ways, I find it's best to relate it to a song. Because if you do that, you're not going to forget it, and now you've got this new song, okay, with all these new techniques and all the bits and pieces, you know? Okay, cool. Scales are so much boring. Is it necessary? Learn your scales and then use them. Don't play through them over and over and over again. There's no need to do that. You can do that. You're going to get something out of it. But like I say, you're not going to get the same out of it as if you were just improvising or learning a song, playing a song, that sort of thing. So yeah, don't do them over and over again. That's not going to really help you as a player. All right. Yeah. Eric, I'm trying to understand playing scales. Can you tell me where to start? Lots of talk about scales today. Bob, yes. I have a video on YouTube. Search YourGuitarSage scales. But here, let me give you the breakdown of it. But do watch that video because it's definitely going to go into more than I'm going to be talking to you about here. Learn the pentatonic scale, learn the major scale. The major scale is going to help you to understand music theory because you'll be able to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. You're going to learn about the number system and all that. Good to know the major scale for all reasons. And then learn to use the pentatonic scale because it's great for improvisation, okay, playing songs and what have you. Soloing. That's what I would do. If you want more information about that, Bob, if you're not in UGS and you're just on YouTube, then search YourGuitarSage scales. And I'll tell you, in those lessons, you're going to hear more about what it is that you need to do than what I'm telling you right now because my mind was in that moment of, okay, now what do I need to tell these folks about scales? Okay, so watch those. But bottom line, pentatonic, major scale are really, really important. Yep. Okay. All right. Somehow I have gone way too far down the list here. Okay. All right, grade 2 band for under $500 is the Fender Blues Junior. I believe that we have one of those on the store site, kit.com/YourGuitarSage. Chris, if we don't, let's put one on there, but I'm pretty darn sure that we have. I'm like 99% sure. Yeah, we got one on there. Eric, who was your teacher or how did you get to this level? Thank you, Hecky. So I had a couple guitar teachers growing up, but honestly, the majority of what I've learned was through meeting with other guitar players and really just digging in the dirt myself. I did have 3 years of classical training in college when I was, just a wee lad. And before that, I had a couple years of guitar lessons. But really, my guitar lessons were my guitar teacher reluctantly teaching me Ozzy Osbourne tunes. Because I'm like, oh, dude, God, I got to know how to play Mr. Crowley. Show me how to do this. And he'd be like, and I'd be like, yeah, that's it. And and then he ended up being my classical guitar teacher in college. That's how small of a town I lived in. And the rest of it, I just kind of did self-taught or self-navigating. So I would learn a particular something, and then I would go, well, if that means that, then this plus this equals this. Ooh, that means I've got all these chords to choose from, and that means I could do this. And my mind I'm kind of a hacker in my mind anyhow. So that's what I do is I just kind of break things down and then so I can understand it better. So that's what I do. And then also being a teacher, it was always challenging because I would have a student that would come in who would ask me something that I didn't know, and I'd be like, I'm like, let me check on that. Let me figure it out. And maybe it was a song, or maybe it was a technique, or maybe it was some theory. And so I just went and studied it because that was kind of my job, to be a teacher, and I wanted to teach him it. And that's pretty much how my mind works, you know. And then of course later on, being a teacher on YouTube and what have you, coming up with new lesson plans and that sort of thing, I had to go, okay, now, for instance, the cage system. People talked about the cage system, and they'd say, well, do you know the cage system? And I'd say, I don't think I know the cage system, no. And I heard it enough. I had enough people ask me, and I was a guitar teacher on YouTube and personally, one-on-one, and I was like, I probably should know this cage system. I'm having people ask me this. So I watched a video on it. I watched someone teaching it, and I was like, well, I know that, but I don't know it as the cage system. I just know it inherently and I mean inherently, I just know it other ways. So you'll hear me kind of chuckle to myself a lot when people say they don't know any music theory, but yet they're a musician. And I'm like, you can't not know music theory if you're a musician. It's impossible. If you're speaking the language, you know the language, okay? If you're playing and it's sounding good, you know music theory. You're working with scales, you're working with forms, you're working with patterns in some way or another. For the people that still argue with me and say, no, man, my friend is this, or it's whatever, Dave Grohl, or they name somebody who's famous, who's makes a lot of money, and so that means that they know what they're talking about. That doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. Dear God, look at their politics, man. It just means that you're hearing their voice and you respect them for other things. It doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. And I can prove this, because give me their guitar and let me tune it to anything I want. I'll tune to each string to something different, and I'll hand that guitar to them and I'll say, go, ear player, do your thing. You don't know music theory? Go. And they should be able to navigate, because otherwise they're going on some sort of memory as to how the strings are laid out, as to where the patterns are. But you can't change the strings. That's not cool, Eric. Well, if they're truly an ear player and they're not playing by any patterns whatsoever, no music theory whatsoever, then you would be able to do that. It'd be like playing a saw or playing a one-string fretless instrument. You should just be able to do it by ear, by intuition. But alas, that doesn't exist. Everybody's using some sort of pattern. So when people say they don't know music theory, it just means that they don't know music theory. That's all it is, okay? So, how did I get off on that tangent? I don't know why. Somebody asked a question about that. Anyhow, yeah. So, hecky guns, just dig in. Dig in if you want to learn this sort of thing and go down the rabbit hole of whatever particular thing that entices you. If you're really into chords, you might sit down and go, man, I'm going to write down every single chord that I know. And you write it down on a piece of paper and you go, okay, cool. Now I'm going to learn the cage system. Now you can apply those chords in these 5 different ways. Now you just 5x'd your chord vocabulary. And then if you watch my video on the bar chords, you're going to, take one chord form, put it on 2 different, or you're going to take one chord, a major chord, you're going to be able to play it on both the 6th and 5th string, and then I'm going to give you like 3 or 4 different variations for each one of those times 12. Now you're 10xing your chord vocabulary easily. So, and I really love that idea, because instead of me sitting down and memorizing hundreds or thousands of chords, I learn the methodology, just like we do with counting, right? Or learning how to read. And then we're able to answer these questions. We're able to, if we're in a jam, if we're recording, if we're doing something and we need to come up with a new chord. I was recording this weekend with my daughter, and the producer, I laid what I thought I should lay down for these parts. And I asked my daughter and I asked the producer, I said, what else do you want? Because people hear different things. They're like, what about this? What about that? And he said, well, can you play some different voicings? Can you play a higher voicing? So what he was saying was, I was playing these chords and I forgot what the chords were anymore now, but let's see, something like it was like an E minor and like a C2 or add 9, and then it was like an E minor, A minor. And so I ended up doing some different voicings, and then they liked that, so we just kind of stacked it up right there on the fly. So what does that have to do with your question, Hecky? Well, that has to do with the fact that I was basically working in the moment, almost like you're molding clay or whittling. It's like you kind of do your thing and you go, yeah, that's kind of not what I want. I want a little bit more off and that sort of thing. But you learn concepts, and then you can use those concepts in real time as opposed to being real stagnant and the only thing I do is read music, or the only thing I do is play by ear, or the only thing I know is the major scale or whatever. You learn these concepts and then you can stack, okay? What we say is the easiest way to memorize the fretboard notes. If you can share, please. Thank you. Skelter. Yeah, I'll tell you really quick in a nutshell, but you'll want to make sure that you watch the video, and it's in the free course that's in the description of this video, YourGuitarSage.com/30. There's a whole video specifically on this, but here's how to do it in a nutshell. Memorize the strings, E, A, D, G, B, E. I remember it like this: Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. Each beginning letter, obviously, is the letter name of the string. E, A, D, G, B, E, or Eddie ate dynamite, goodbye Eddie. Know that the musical alphabet goes from A to G. There's no H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. And all notes have a sharp and flat except for B and E. Just remember, let it be, right? B and E don't have a sharp. So if that's the case, then you know the name of the open string, then you can start right there in the alphabet. You know you're working up the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If it starts on an E, then the next note would be an F, and then a G, and then an A, B, C, D. Okay, so that's how you want to think, and just remember B and E don't have a sharp. That's the easiest way to do it. Now, again, what we're doing here is we're using a system, because, and I'll argue this to the day I die, nobody has the fretboard memorized. And what I mean by that is this: you can't have the fretboard memorized by using anything other than a method, by using springboards, by using bookmarks, if you will, places, things that are reminding you. That may be using 0 and 12, right? Because that's cutting the string in half right there at 12. It may be using the fret markers. There's so many different things you can do. Using the springboards that I talk about, like octaves. Like if I want to find an octave, I go down 2 strings, up 2 frets. If I want to do that from here, I go down 2, up 3. Okay, I've got these G's all over the place. That is the way to do it. So you could look at that and go, well, Eric, you have the fretboard memorized. No, I don't. Not any more than Steve Vai or Yngwie Malmsteen or Andre Segovia. I don't care who it is. You don't memorize the fretboard. What you do is you use association. Okay? That's how we do everything, is we use association. I mean, eventually, yeah, you're going to be able to look down at the fretboard and it's going to seem like you have all these things memorized, but they're not any more memorized than you counting 1 to 1 billion. Again, I've never counted 1 to 1 billion. I can do it. It's not because I memorized it. I'm using a system. The more you can break things down to systems that are proven, the less work you have to do, right? And that allows more time to be able to do more stuff, to learn more on the guitar. Any specific electric guitar songs to learn for a beginner electric player? Benjamin, I don't know what you like. Go after the songs that you like. Because I can mention songs that I think that are cool, but you may not know the band, may not be your genre. And also, you really want to practice those things that you like, okay? Not what I'm telling you to play. I'm playing major scales while watching your live. I want to spice the scale practice to sound interesting. What do I do? Well, okay, you can do several things. You can use different patterns. So I'll take a scale, and instead of just playing, I might skip notes. So I might go like this, or I might go 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 5, 6. That sort of thing. So some different patterns would make things more interesting as well. And it will help you to, it'll help with your picking and all that good stuff, you know? All right, yeah. How tantalizing a question do I have to ask to get an answer? Boom. You just did. All right, great. I've learned the fairly basic chords. Should I learn bar chords or more advanced chords next? Benjamin, learn some bar chords. You're going to use them a lot. Eric, can I pass on along a warning to your students? Do not collect materials and bounce from one teacher to another. I have done that and wasted several years. Stick with one. Eric is the best. Oh, thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that. Yes, I agree. I mean, find somebody who's teaching you. Now, you could outgrow me for sure. I have no doubt that you can outgrow me. You can outgrow any teacher. And in fact, John Pell's a hero of mine, buddy of mine, played at my wedding actually, probably Nashville's most well-known guitar teacher outside of, you know, YouTube and this sort of thing, like old school guitar teacher, taught the best, taught so many folks. And one of the guitar folks that he taught was Dan Huff. If you don't know who he is, you definitely have heard the guy play because was all over the radio, especially like in the 80s and the 90s. Just probably one of the most played studio musician of all times. He went to Belmont University, where I went to school, and he met with John Pell. And John Pell is a really knowledgeable dude, super knowledgeable. In fact, I'd love to get him inside the Unstoppable Guitar System. I need to give him a call here because I would love to get him in there. That being said, he taught Dan Huff, and at some point to Dan he said, "You're on your way. You don't need me anymore," because there's a certain point I've run into this one time with one of my students where I said, "Dude, I've taught you. I mean, I could teach you other things. I could conjure stuff up, but really, at this point, we're regurgitating the same stuff. There's only so much stuff that you can learn." And what I mean by that is this. We could have gone into other styles, but for what it is that he wanted to do, he was becoming better at me at that specific style and what it is that he wanted to do. What am I going to show him anymore? I showed him the theory. I showed him, you know, all that stuff. We learned Van Halen. We learned rock. We learned punk. We learned all sorts of stuff. Now he was going into a gent style and kind of a progressive rock sound. Not my cup of tea. It's fine. I love it. It's good. Not my thing. And it was time for me to say, dude, you got to go. You got to do your thing. And he was a great student, one of my favorite. Loved him. So, but that being said, you can definitely outgrow a teacher, but chances are, if it's a teacher that knows what they're talking about, it's going to take a long time for you to do that. So stick with one teacher. Find a teacher that speaks to you. Dig in and do it as step by step as possible. Okay? All right, sweet. Eric, in your experience, I want to write songs. Do I need to create the music first or the lyrics? Daryl, you can do either. I hear it all the time. In fact, a lot of times I can tell when someone wrote the lyrics first because the lyrics seem to be so good. Country players tend to write the concept and then start writing the lyrics while they're writing the melody. So there's a little bit of that going on at the same time. A lot of times with bands, you'll have the singer who will write the lyrics and then the guitar player who's writing the music. And then they put those two together. So really there's just so many different ways that you can do it, you know? see. Can you give me one piece of advice? Benjamin's asking. Don't eat yellow snow. Do you do any videos or courses on guitar soloing? Benjamin, yes, lots. On YouTube. Obviously inside UGS, tons of them. What kind of songs would you prioritize to get a lot of girls? Romaine is saying. Romaine, I would say songs that are romantic, like Wicked Game, right? Sure. Wicked Game by Chris Isaac? Yeah. Panties be flying. Okay. No, it's I guess, yeah, romantic songs, man. Just beautiful songs that the ladies like. And not all ladies are the same, right? So I love looking at some of the comments between you guys here. Learn every song by the Shags to get the ladies. I don't know that group, unless that's a joke, but yeah. All right. Am I teaching my daughter to play? So my daughter knows how to play. Yeah, I taught her some guitar, and she knows how to play ukulele, and she taught herself keyboards, piano. So she's, that's another example. It's like she doesn't really want to take lessons from me, and I don't really want to give her lessons, especially if she's not interested. If she was interested, of course I would give her lessons. But she has her own thing that she's doing. So the cobbler's kids' shoes, you've ever heard that analogy that the cobbler's kids' shoes have holes in them because he's working all day on other people's shoes? So it's similar. But in this case here, she's not really interested in lessons. So she is just doing her music the way she wants to do it. And that's cool. That's all good. When you're an artist, you're an artist. You just do your thing. Got a good quote from an online dealer on a Fender player strat with plecking. Should I pull the trigger? Ooh, Michael, yeah, of course. Of course you should. Any doubt? Okay. Very interesting, Sage. I never really thought about comparing it to counting to a billion, right? Yeah, there's so many things are systems. Running a business is a system. Counting, reading is a system. Everything, so many different things that we do, it's a system. It's systematic. Driving to work, there's a system. There's a flow. Certain things that you do, you get in your car, you turn the ignition, you put it in gear, you go in reverse, you go forward. There's certain things that you're doing every single time. You're just not realizing that you're doing those things, right? Because it becomes so ritualistic. But guitar, now playing guitar should be different, but learning how to play guitar, learning theory and stuff like that can be very systematic, and that's not a bad thing, okay? This is systematically, like it's going to help, How expensive is the Les Paul behind you? Where did you get it? This one is the Gibson Darkfire, and it was, I think when I purchased it, it was somewhere around $20-something $100, maybe it's like $2,500. It's a first run Darkfire, and I'm going to be giving it away at the next broadcast, at the next big broadcast that we do, so stay tuned for that. Is it necessary to learn theory to arrange a song in guitar? Nope. I know tons of people that they know what chords work together, so they just play it, and it works, okay? So you definitely can do that, but you're using theory. Are you using theory? I mean, I kind of feel like you're using patterns. So technically someone could say, okay, he's using this chord and this chord and this chord, and that's all in the same key. So that's the theory behind it, but you may not know that you're doing that. Does that make sense? So you're using theory, but you don't realize that you're using theory. Kind of like what I said earlier. Do I sing? I do. Everybody sings. And I know you're saying to yourself right now, oh, Eric, no, I sound like a da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, well, guess what? Yes, you're born with the voice that you have. You're also born with the body that you have, and you don't look like a baby anymore, right? So you might have a few more pounds or some muscles or a tattoo or something like that. You're self-made, so In the same way, you can develop your voice just like anything else, okay? So, yeah, you're born with the voice that you're born with, but your voice developed, didn't it? Sure did. You don't sound like you did when you were a baby. So get it out of your head that you can't develop your voice. If that were true, there wouldn't be vocal coaches and voice teachers and everything else. You can develop your voice. Trust me. I've worked with several vocal instructors, both in college and outside of college. I've probably worked with 3 or 4 different vocal coaches over the years personally. And without a shadow of a doubt, they know this, but some people don't think that you can develop your voice like you can the guitar. You most assuredly can. Scott, yes, this will be reposted to YouTube, indeed, afterwards. Do I know Sunga Jung? I don't know how to pronounce his name, but yes, I've seen him. He's a fabulous guitar player and uke player. Great player. Do you think it's more productive for lead playing to noodle over a progression or learn solos to pre-existing songs? I think both are good. Learn solos from other people because you're going to be learning phrases. You're going to be learning. It's like learning a great speech or learning, great expressions, maybe quotes from famous authors that you might use. And in the same way, if you're noodling over something and you've learned all these scales or all these solos, I should say, you're going to be quoting from them just like you would if you learned all these quotes from famous people, and then you might say, and that reminds me, blankety blank. I've done it here several times, right? I've used quotes and what have you. So definitely do both. Okay, we answered that one. Is it necessary to learn theory to arrange a song? No, not per se, but it's helpful. Any suggestions for 80s rock songs to learn on electric guitar? Yeah, see my channel, Benjamin. I've got lots of them. I would just search YourGuitarSage and then the artist that you like, and chances are you're going to find something. Do you have problems with copyright infringement for your lessons? Yes, Hank, all the time. All the time. What 80s bands? Okay, yeah. Riverboy, I love your teaching methods. Where did you learn to teach? Thank you, Riverboy. I've always had a heart for helping other beings. And I say other beings because that's animals or adults, children, whoever. Like, I've always just had a heart for that and have always loved being able to help someone get from one place to another. So that's where I learned, is I just wanted to do it. And so it just kind of came, maybe I had a passion for it, and then watching other teachers, meeting with other teachers, learning methods, working with many, many students, you curtail that over the years and you get better at it. But no specific place that I learned. It was just by jumping in and doing it. Eric, what's your preferred fretboard material? Also doesn't matter. I don't have a preferred fretboard material. Doesn't matter to me. Some people it may matter to, but I'm saying no. What matters is, are you practicing or not? I know some people get worn out when I say that, but it's like if we're cutting the bullshit, we're gonna not worry about. And no offense there, fretboard. Some people like a particular type of fretboard or whatever, but if we really are being honest with ourselves, does it matter? Does it matter what the fretboard material is if we can't play a song or a scale or a chord? No, it doesn't matter. What matters is, can you execute a song? And the audience doesn't care what kind of fretboard you have. They don't care what kind of guitar you have. They just care, are you playing their favorite song the way that they heard it on the radio? That's it, Okay, sweet. Makes sense? Sure it does. All right, I might get to 1 or 2 more questions here on Facebook. Let me see if there's any last ones here. Typical preacher's child. Yeah, exactly, right? Okay, here it is. I was on a tour bus with some friends. They were in a band. They all said they don't know any music theory. I was dumbfounded. No, don't be, Roddy. A lot of people, most people, they play by ear, but they'll say, yeah, this G, this D work well together. Yeah, I noticed that, man. That's music theory. Hey, what key are we in, guys? Trust me, they're asking what key are we in. What key are we in, guys? Oh, key of E. Boom. Music theory. Hey, dude, was that an E or an E minor chord you're playing there? Oh, E minor. Music theory. They know music theory. Trust me, they do. They just may not think that they know it. Everybody thinks that music theory is this thing that's out there that's equates to physics or something crazy. All right, trust me. Trust me, it took me 5 times to get through algebra in college. You can get this, okay? You can get music theory. It is simple, super simple. What are your thoughts on the Yamaha Transacoustic nylon guitar? I think I don't know anything about the Yamaha Transacoustic. I know that Yamaha makes great stuff, and but that's all I know, you know. And I understand that people all around the world are getting more accepting of transacoustics. So I'm with them. I think transacoustics should be played everywhere. Can you recommend a tube amp? Okay, we did that. Okay. Question: 3-chord song, A, G, D. Can you solo with one pentatonic pattern just by changing the fret position with the corresponding chord progression? A, G, and D. So you're playing A, G, and D. Let's see here. You're playing in the key of D most likely. And so you could play, you don't have to switch positions, Tim. You could just play D major pentatonic. You don't have to switch positions. You can literally just play D major pentatonic over that. Doesn't matter what position you use because you're still playing the same 5 notes if you're playing D major pentatonic. Tim, if you have questions about that, search on YouTube, search YourGuitarSage pentatonic. Okay? All right, sweet. All right, my friends, that is it. Do not forget, you have one more opportunity here to win a lifetime membership to the Unstoppable Guitar System /365. The only thing you got to do is go to the post that we've got that's right here. That's on Instagram. Yes, you have to have an Instagram account. What you're going to do is follow me on Instagram, like it, leave a comment. So 3 things: follow, like, leave a comment. If you do that, then what we do is we go through the list after the program and we pick a winner and then we announce it on Instagram stories, just like we did yesterday. Okay, it's over a $500 value, so it's nothing to balk at. It's literally a lifetime of lessons, of guitar lessons. Cool. Anything else? No, I think that is it for today. My friends, thank you so much. Great questions today. Had a lot of fun with you guys, and that's it for today. I'll see you in another lesson coming up here soon. Thanks for those who donated today.